Hey girls, I hope you are doing well. In this session, we'll cover the basics of transfer learning. So sit back, relax, and let's learn together. What is transfer learning? Let's say you learned how to ride a bicycle. You got really good at keeping your balance, steering left and right, avoiding people on the road, and overall just keeping a nice rhythm. Now one day, someone brings you a motorcycle. It's faster, it's heavier, and it has new things like gears, speed control, and brakes. But guess what? You don't have to start from zero. Why? Because you already know how to balance, how to steer, how to focus on the road. You just need to learn the new parts, like speed control and shifting gears. And that is mainly transfer learning. You're using what you learned before and applying it to something totally new. So let's keep this in mind as our big idea. Now let's switch to computers. Imagine you have a machine learning model. So basically we have a robot that learns from data. It gets really good at recognizing animals, like cats and dogs. Later we want to teach it something else. So instead of teaching it from scratch, we let it use what it already knows, like shapes, colors, and textures, and we just teach it the new labels. So this is the definition of transfer learning. It's when a machine learning model is trained on one task and is reused for a different but related task. Now you might be wondering, why not just start fresh every time? And why should we even use transfer learning? Let's take this example. Think about it. Every time you want to cook something, would you cook raw rice from scratch? Of course not. You use pre-cooked rice if you already have some. And why is that? Because you can save time, gas, and energy. And it tastes just as good. And it's the same thing with transfer learning. So here's a fun analogy. A pre-trained model, it's like pre-cooked rice. And the new task is like a new dish. So fried rice, sushi. So you take your pre-cooked rice, you mix it with veggies, chicken, you add some spices, and you get a brand new dish made very quickly. So transfer learning is just like that. You're going to use what you already have and you can now build something totally new. Now, what are the benefits and the reasons why people, even researchers, use transfer learning all of the time? First, you do not need weeks of learning. You save training time. Second, even just a few pictures can work, so you can work with limited data. Third, it already knows a lot of helpful things, so you can improve your accuracy. And finally, it can help in several domains and it shares knowledge across fields, which is also related to culture. So it's faster, smarter, and super efficient. Now, how does transfer learning actually work? And do not worry, we will keep it very simple and it's going to be very easy to be grasped. We have three main steps. First, we have pre-training. So in this step, the model is going to learn by looking at tons of data. For example, it's going to look at millions of images of animals, of people, objects. Then it's going to use that knowledge. So we take that smart model and reuse it. So it's like giving your little sister your old school books. So we're going to use this model that already learned something and we're going to build upon that knowledge. Third, it's fine tuning. Mainly what we do in this step is that we tweak and we change the last parts so it's perfect for our new task. For example, instead of recognizing dogs, now I need the model to recognize cats or something totally new, like a car. So you're going to change it a bit, just a few layers, to make sure that it can actually work for our new task. Now let's pretend we need to build a robot that understands languages. Now the problem is that some languages do not really have enough examples, like ancient languages or even rare dialects. We have also a second problem, which is that it usually takes a lot of time for experts to actually label the words. And finally, machines often need lots of examples to actually learn well. Here comes our solution. First, you're going to let your computer learn from English because we have tons of examples. Then, in case you want to identify Arabic, then you're going to use that knowledge to understand new languages, in this case Arabic. Or even you can use it to understand and identify Lebanese dialects. And that's mainly transfer learning. So again, why is transfer learning so iconic? It's really famous and used because it needs fewer examples to learn. It doesn't really require any super large models, and it can really perform very well with just parts of the model. So it's like Legos. You do not really need to build everything from scratch every single time. You're just going to reuse some pieces. Now that we know what transfer learning is, we need to code, right? So imagine you're at the beach, you're looking at the sun, you're tanning, and you are sitting with your cousin who just moved from abroad. She doesn't know much about food except from her country, and she wants to discover dishes from other countries, starting with Lebanese food. So you want to teach her, but you only have a few recipes and pictures of food on your phone. So how are you supposed to help her? How can you actually be able to help her learn fast with so little information? Here comes the power of transfer learning. So let's say you are a beginner coder, you don't know a lot yet, which is normal, and you want to build something really cool. You decide to use transfer learning to teach your cousin about Lebanese dishes. So here's what you're going to do. You're going to start first with a model that already knows a lot about general images. So any random images, it can actually identify it. Then you're going to reuse that model and you're going to upload few photos of several Lebanese dishes. It can be tabbouleh, shawarma, anything you want. Guess what? The results is that you are going to be able to actually recognize and identify Lebanese food with just as little as 5 photos. And that's all thanks to transfer learning. To summarize, what do we need in our basket? Let's pack it. We need TensorFlow, so our smart brain. We need pre-trained models, which is already trained. And finally, we need photos and pictures of Lebanese dishes, or any dishes in general. So just a few to start. Now let's go step by step. Our first step, we need to install the brain tool. We mentioned it here, TensorFlow. We need to install it, right? So we bring in a smart robot who knows a lot about the world, about cats, dogs, flowers. Then you need to upload your pictures. So it's like we're giving it a flash drive with all of your favorite Lebanese dish photos. Then the robot opens the folder. It's going to see several photos and it's going to place it in several sections, right? We unzip it. Next, the robot is going to look at each picture. It's going to study the shapes, textures, colors. Now remember, the robot already knows shapes and colors from millions of general images, so it already has a head start. Now we need to train it. So we need to help it to actually learn the labels and to know what each dish is. Finally, to make sure that it has all worked out, we need to test it, and we do so by showing it a random photo and we ask the robot, what is this? Then we can actually identify the dish. To summarize, the 7 steps of success: installing the brain tool, uploading your food photos, opening your photos, so unzipping the file. Then you show the model your photos, you use a smart model, a model that can actually learn. you train it, and you test it with a photo. Congrats! You have actually learned and covered the basics of transfer learning. Now, before we go and actually start coding, let us wrap everything up. So transfer learning is like riding a bike than a motorcycle. It's also like using pre-cooked rice. So you mainly use what's already learned and apply it to something new. It works well even with just a few examples. It's really great for cultural projects, and anyone, even you can use it anytime you want with just a very few simple steps. So let's build now something really fun, and always remember that the possibilities are endless and the only limit is your imagination. Thank you for listening, and let's code together.